What if all those little things you do every day, your habits, the way you think, even your weird little quirks, are actually secret signs of high intelligence? And no, I'm not talking about your GPA or some standardized test score. We're talking about real psychological patterns that science has actually linked to a higher IQ. So I gotta ask you, is that really how we should measure it? Is being smart just about what's on a report card? Let's just push back on that idea for a minute. For ages, the traditional view has been all about the stuff we can easily measure, right? Grades, IQ tests, how well you can memorize things. But there's this more modern, psychological view that suggests intelligence is woven into the very fabric of our lives, our habits, our thoughts, and yep, even our quirks. And today, that's what we're going to dive into. All right, so let's start with what's going on inside your own head. Our first couple of finds are all about your internal dialogue and how you actually process your thoughts. Do you ever find yourself just analyzing everything? And I don't mean in that anxious, stressful way. I mean out of pure, genuine curiosity. That's a huge indicator. See, intelligent people don't just skim the surface. They have this natural urge to go deeper. So there's actually a name for this in psychology. It's called cognitive reflection. It's this incredible ability to just pause, question your gut instinct, and really look at a problem from all sides. This isn't just overthinking. It's literally the engine that drives complex problem solving. And this quote just nails it, doesn't it? That tendency you might have to go over things again and again. It's often not a sign of stress at all, but a mark of a mind that just isn't satisfied with the easy, surface-level answer. You don't just react, you reflect. Okay, now this next one, it's gonna sound totally backward at first. How on earth could doubting yourself be a sign of intelligence? Well, it turns out that having a healthy dose of self-doubt is absolutely crucial. It all comes down to the difference between what's called intellectual humility and just plain overconfidence. And it connects perfectly to that first sign, cognitive reflection. When you're always questioning your own first instincts, you naturally become way more aware of what you don't know. This is the complete opposite of the Dunning-Kruger Effect, where people with less knowledge often wildly overestimate how competent they are. Realizing the limits of what you know, that's a total superpower. Let's shift gears now. We've talked about the internal world of thought, but how does this translate to the external world? I mean, how do intelligent people perceive and observe what's happening around them? You've been in this situation, right? You're in a meeting, and there's one person who just dominates the whole conversation. But then there's that other person, the quiet one, who seems to be soaking everything in. Well, highly intelligent people often aren't the loudest ones in the room. Instead, they're busy listening, processing, and connecting dots that everyone else is missing. Psychologists have a great name for this: active observation. And it's not passive at all. It's a dynamic skill. It's about taking in information from every possible channel, what's being said, what's not being said, and analyzing it all in real time. It's a huge sign of both high IQ and high emotional intelligence. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're not just hearing the words. They're analyzing the tone of voice, they're reading the emotional currents in the room, and they're evaluating the logic behind the arguments, all at once. Oh man, are you one of those people who falls down Wikipedia rabbit holes for hours or is constantly asking why? Well, guess what? That's not you getting distracted. That's a sign of a hungry intellect. That endless curiosity is a powerful, powerful driver for learning and discovery. And you know what? There's real science to back this up. There's a personality trait called openness to experience, which is basically all about curiosity and imagination. And it's one of the strongest predictors of a high IQ. Research from the University of London has shown again and again that people who score high on openness also tend to score high on intelligence tests. So, in other words, your curiosity is a key part of your intelligence. Okay, for our final sign, let's talk about something a little different: how intelligent people recharge their batteries. Because it's not always about being out and social. Now hold on, this isn't about being antisocial or a hermit. It's about recognizing that constant social interaction can actually be draining. And that solitude, well, that's where some of the best thinking gets done. If you find peace and even feel productive in your own company, you are in very good company. So why is this? Well, a really fascinating study in the British Journal of Psychology found that for highly intelligent people, socializing less often leads to greater life satisfaction. It's because their brains actually crave the space for deep thought. They don't recharge with small talk, they recharge with solitude. So, After looking at all these signs, from how you think to how you recharge, what's the big picture here? How do we tie this all together? I absolutely love this quote because it just reframes everything we've talked about. If you've ever felt a little different for overthinking or for doubting yourself or for preferring a quiet night in, maybe it's not because you're weird. Maybe, just maybe, it's because your brain is simply wired for a deeper level of thinking. So let's do a quick rundown of our 5 big signs. Number 1, productive overthinking, which we now know is cognitive reflection. 2, healthy self-doubt or intellectual humility. 3, that quiet observation known as active observation. 4, insatiable curiosity, which is linked to openness to experience. And finally, number 5, valuing solitude for that all-important deep thinking. See, these aren't just quirks. They are psychological markers of a highly active and intelligent mind. And that really brings us to the final and maybe most important question. Intelligence isn't some fixed thing. Knowing these signs isn't just about spotting them in yourself, it's about understanding which ones you can actually cultivate and grow. So, what's one thing you'll do to lean into these traits and foster your own deep thinking? Definitely something to reflect on.